Right, hi everyone, and welcome to this Installer Festival session with NIBE. Today we're talking about a heat pump installation, and we've got every angle of it covered, so it's going to be a really interesting chat. We've got the installer of the project, Barry Sharp. Hi, Barry.
Morning, Joe.
We've got the consumer, Gerry McLachlan. Hi, Gerry.
Morning, all.
And we've got NIBE representative, Neil Hope. Hi, Neil. How you doing?
Yeah, very well. Morning, everyone. Morning, Joe.
So, Barry, could you kick us off? Could you kind of explain a bit about the project and how it all came up?
Yes, Gerry approached us because he found our company online by Googling heat pumps. Gerry's house is a standard 3-bedroom house, detached, in a nice part of just outside Edinburgh. Quite a cold part of Edinburgh, actually, but the house was built maybe 40 years ago?
1985.
Yeah, not too far. So it met the criteria. It had cavity had been insulated, double glazing, and the loft had been insulated, so suitable for a heat pump. It was heated with oil, which the oil boiler was coming to the end of its life, which you could smell when you come in the garage. The oil tank as well was no longer current standards either. So they're looking at doing a major upgrade if it wasn't going to be a heat pump. So it's a good time to consider it.
Yeah. So Gerry, how did you decide that you wanted to opt for a heat pump rather than go for another oil boiler?
So I guess we'd had the oil boiler. It was, as Barry said, it was at the end of its life. It was going to cost us a lot of money to replace it, and to be honest, I just didn't want to have another oil boiler, just mostly from environmental point of view. The village we live in is fairly rural. It doesn't have mains gas, so I looked on Home Energy Scotland to see what options there were, other than oil, and obviously there were things like air source heat pumps, ground source heat pumps, and wood pellet boilers. So I just looked into some of the pluses and minuses of those, and spoke to some neighbours, because a lot of neighbours in similar situations. My next door neighbour had a wood pellet boiler installed a couple of years ago, and talking to him, he said actually, if I was doing it again, I wouldn't, just because of the issues of storage of the pellets and he's quite elderly and having to keep filling the hopper and stuff. Some other neighbours already had air source heat pumps, so it made sense to me as the kind of best route to go down.
And then how did you decide on like a NIBE heat pump, and then B, going with Barry?
So again, I initially Googled just to see what companies there were available. Barry's company, Renewable, were one of the first ones that came up on the list. And again, there's 3 neighbours who already have heat pumps, and I spoke to them about their experiences, and one of them had actually used Barry, and they were quite complimentary about the service that they'd had. One of the other neighbours, the company that had installed theirs, has actually gone out of business, and they were having some issues with the warranty transfer to a new company and things, and so as I say, the fact that somebody locally had recommended, then so I approached Renewable Heat for a quote.
And Barry, what's the process then? Yeah, do you go in and then make sure everything's fine? Was there anything particularly unique or interesting about this property?
You need to go and see the client. You can't just do it over the phone. So a couple of things we're trying to establish is if they're aware of what's involved in doing a heat pump. Because effectively, because you're going to upgrade the heating system as well, a new hot water tank, you need to be aware of the upheaval and work involved. So the first visit's mainly, we'll get an idea of what we need to have, what we need to come out, what we need to go in, and then we also do a detailed heat loss calculation at the time. And that can be quite handy because we can see what the existing heating system's like, how far away it is, what temperatures we can run the system in, and how much upgrade will be required. So once we get those numbers, we can give them a detailed quote with a pretty accurate installation cost and running costs. If the client's happy with that, then we'll come back and just double check everything. So we'll check that radiators are going to fit in that position, that we can actually get a hot heat pump hanging on that wall, and if the hot water cylinder is going to fit where we think we're going to fit.
Yeah, and Joe, what do you think when that kind of level of service? So somebody comes in and like gives you a heat loss calculation and said, "This is what we advise. This is what we do." What do you think about that as a consumer?
I think it was really good because it gives you some confidence that you're getting the right, the heat pump with the right power output and capacity to heat your home, and also the one thing that we hadn't been sure about was whether or not all our existing radiators would work, for instance. So just explaining the fact that you need bigger surface area because the system runs at a lower temperature. you know, it was all useful information just to, as Barry said, give us an indication of how much kind of upheaval it was going to be to get the system installed.
Yeah, so Barry, how long did it all take?
Just over a week, I believe. It was a good year and a half ago now, Gerry, I think. So I think we took about a week, maybe. Usually what happens, we get most of the job done in a week. We try and leave them with heating during that time, so it's a changeover in maybe 1 or 2 days. And then we might be back to start the following week for general tidying up, snagging, insulating.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Was there any like particularly challenging bits, or was it quite uniform?
This one, I think because we'd split the heat pump plant room and hot water cylinder in different corners of the house. So you're trying to get services from the back of the house where the heat pump was to the garage, and then up the stairs to the cylinder cupboard. But that's just standard heating engineer kind of stuff. Gerry's house was a bit tight under the floor, so well, I never found that out. Somebody else did. But that was the only problem we had.
Gerry, having been through this process, because obviously, a week does sound like quite a long time, but is it something that you were comfortable with? Is it something that you'd kind of like, if somebody was saying to you, "Oh, I'm interested in getting a heat pump, but I'm wary about the installation time," would you say, "Oh no, that's fine"? What was your feelings on that?
You know, it's just one of these things. If you want a different, you know, I didn't see there was really any alternative. If we wanted a different source of heating, then, you know, you have to accept that there's going to be some disruption, and that length of disruption, you know, for us, we didn't have very small children or anything, so, you know, it was, we were fairly comfortable to kind of work around it.
Neil, we'll bring you in. What sort of, how do you work with installers throughout these kind of processes, like linking up the installer and the consumer, and helping them with materials and helping them with any technical information if they need it?
Yes, I mean, there's obviously the marketing side of it, you know, bringing homeowners into contact with reputable and good installers, which we do through our website, you know, various exhibitions that we do. I think we work with a wide network of installers, you know, so their experience really varies. I mean, you know, picking on Barry as an example, best part of a decade, if not more. So his familiarity with the product and with the market and what customers need is different to new entrants. So, you know, we need to support installers to a varying degree. And that will include technical support, you know, helping them with product specification, you know, and that's a very relative thing. You know, someone on their first system will need help with the A, B's and C's. Whereas, again, using Barry as an example, you know, he's going to be looking to challenge himself and his business. So we'll work with him on that journey as well. So there's the technical support from the design, product selection, obviously getting the equipment physically to site. And then depending on the project, there's the handover aspect, any commissioning support that's needed. So it's a real complete package, you know, and it's tailored to each individual customer. You know, the field sales engineers, they'll know what their individual installers need, and then as a package, you know, we'll deliver that out for the various areas of the business. So, but the key thing is, as Barry said, is getting the design right, you know, and once that foundation is laid, you know, support on first fix as well. For the bigger schemes, perhaps, you know, where it's mechanical contractors, helping them with first fix, second fix, commissioning and handover.
Perfect. And Gerry, did you research the renewable heat incentive when you went for the heat pump? Did that influence your decision at all?
Yeah, it did. I mean, I was aware of it, and obviously when Barry came on his first visit, he also mentioned that, you know, it was a good option it's a good incentive to go down that route. I mean that combined with the Scottish government, you know, offer interest-free loans to cover part of the instalment costs as well. It was up to £10,000 if I remember rightly. So you can get a loan from the Scottish government to pay for the installation, at least the bulk of it, and you pay that back interest free, and you're also then getting the renewable heat incentive from the UK government. So the combination of that made it a bit of a no-brainer, really, because I think we worked out that our total cost to us to install a whole new system was maybe about £4,000. You know, by the time you take in all the rebates that we get in the renewable heat incentive scheme and the government loans. So it would have cost us a hell of a lot, or at least as much as that, to get a new oil boiler and a new oil tank, etc. as well. So for us, it made absolute sense, and it was a really good incentive.
Yeah, Barry, how kind of important are these schemes, or how helpful are they for your business and your customers?
I think the RHI and the loans are critical. I would say about 95% of my clients use both of them. In fact, everyone uses RHI because it's there, but the loan, sometimes people might not want to use it because it's a bit of hassle going jumping through a couple of loops. But it is, when Gerry set it up right, it is effectively, when you take off the additional cost for the heat pump and the upgrade the system, it does generally come into the same cost as them changing their heating system. And now we're seeing people changing away from oil to gas because they've seen the benefit of it. Changing away from gas, sorry, to heat pumps. So yeah, it's essential, I think. I'm slightly concerned about the future, what's going to happen post RHI. Not a couple of years yet.
Yeah, and Gerry, what about the 7-year warranty on the heat pump? Because that's obviously given you that level of support. So was that a big factor when you were picking your new heating system as well?
No, absolutely. I mean, you're always, when it's a new technology, or a relatively new technology, you always worry that, there's always a gradual improvement in these systems as they age, as new products come in the market, because they learn more about issues. So for me, having a 7-year warranty on it definitely influences the choices that you make.
Yeah, and Barry, so you're a NIBE VIP installer.
Right.
So what are the kind of benefits and why did you get involved with the scheme?
The VIP gives us a 7-year warranty. So what's the standard warranty, Neil?
Standard warranty on products is 2 years.
Yeah. So that's a massive selling point. So it's in our interest to be a VIP. But just the additional support that we get from NIBE being VIP as well, with marketing, leads, support.
Yeah, Neil, can you talk a bit more about the VIP, the NIBE VIP installer scheme?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been in place for a long time now. It's probably coming up to sort of 10 years, if not more, since the scheme was in place. The warranties were extended to VIPs to 7 years, probably coming up for 7 years ago now. So we've been supporting our installers with that warranty for a long time. And I think it's obviously testament to the confidence we've got in the product. So that does form a big part of it. But it's more than that. I think obviously we need our installers to have work. So over the last few years we've invested heavily in the marketing, particularly for them to have the leads of interested customers. I think also there's the practical elements that we discussed before, tech support. They have their own logins, so they can access information as and when they need it. From kind of again on the marketing side, infographics that they need, anything that's going to support them with that, through to the more techie stuff, applying for electrical connections and things like that. And then more recently, with the product range that we've got, there's extra connectivity that the installers can benefit from with the product. So they're supported in that way, which enables them to remotely access the customer's product, see what's going on with it. And we feel that's the next step really, in supporting our installer base, is giving them that connectivity and access to customers' properties and customer systems rather, so they can see what's going on in real time and just enhance that warranty, from a diagnostic point of view.
I'll chip in here, because actual fact, we picked up on uplink because we tend to look back at systems either at the start of the winter or maybe a month or two after they've installed it. And Gerry's ones, a couple of settings were slightly off on it, and it was causing higher starts and higher run hours than we were expecting. So we were able to pick that up before there was any either additional running costs or any damage to the heat pump. And it was just a matter of going, have a look online and say, right, something's not right there. Let's go down and get a look at it now before it becomes a problem. A lot of preventive maintenance we can do with the uplink.
Yeah, no, that's a big thing, really. So you can build on a product more and more. Always try to make the product better. But it's the aftercare, and that's what ultimately, you can have a great product, but you've got to be able to support it, and the uplink really helps us with that. And just going back to the support you mentioned as well, what else we do, Joe? I think, when it's a job well done, we want to help our installers tell people about it. So we do a lot of work on case studies. you know, on our website, and, you know, obviously consumer case studies, as well as commercial ones as well. So they get put into the relative, you know, media stream. So we can, you know, support our installers, and they can obviously use them, you know, locally as well. So I think it's not just about getting the job right. It's, you know, we need to grow this market for heat pumps. The installers are the key to that. So they need all the tools, as well as, you know, including marketing resources and case studies to get the message out.
And what about training as well for installers who are kind of watching this thinking that's a market I want to get into? How does NIBE support with that?
Yeah, it's a big topic right now in the industry. So
yeah.
I think, yeah, training is something that you know, is needed a real good look at for a while. I mean, our courses have been very busy up until lockdown. You know, they were busy. On the BPEC courses for heat pumps that we were running, which are the industry accredited, industry recognised training course, so you can access the MCS scheme, which then enables you to access the RHI. So they were always very busy, as well as the product specific courses for new installers and existing installers looking to train new staff, looking to, you know, bolt on existing, you know, product knowledge. So they were always very busy. I think moving forward, because of changes in building regulations that are you know, due to come in around low carbon and low temperature systems, there's going to be a bigger demand for training. You know, so we're well positioned to deliver that. I think the reasons behind it is not just building reg, but, you know, Gerry's a good example, if I may use Gerry, that, you know, customers are more aware of their options now, you know, and I think it's you know, we need more people to be aware, but, you know, it's a growing awareness within the consumer base of the alternatives to fossil fuels, and, you know, installers are going to need knowledge, you know, to inform their customers, and then obviously install the system. So I think the training will develop. There's been consultations published recently, you know, really good response from, you know, the industry installer base to those consultations, which is refreshing. You know, that there's a level of engagement now from installers. You know, so hopefully that will come to fruition over the coming months with courses developed, and into 2021, you know, hopefully we can hit the ground running, you know, with getting a new wave of installers trained.
Larry, what made you train to be a heat pump installer, or add heat pumps into your business repertoire? When did you say, 10 years ago?
Probably 15, to be fair. By default, I think we done a job for somebody who does a lot of commercial work. He's building his own house. He said he wanted a heat pump because he needed the benefits. That was pre-MCS. So we done one 15 years ago, and then we done one, became an expert. And from that, because we done one, we got in tow with a heat pump company in Scotland at the time, and then just kept it from there. Renewable Heat, my business partner Richie, he's been in heat pumps as long as I have as well, 15 years. He was actually doing service repairs for NIBE 15 years ago, when NIBE first went in the UK. So when we started our business up maybe 6-7 years ago, we decided to be 100% heat pumps and associated works with it. So that's all we do. I think heat pumps are the technical design, a technical install. So your business has to be geared for that sometimes. If you're doing, I think there's a problem in industry just now where we've got a lot of de-skilled guys. A combi is not a difficult install, and you don't have to do a great deal of design for it. So I think if you're doing gas boilers day in, day out and jumping to heat pumps, there's a learning curve there, and you will get a couple wrong in the first couple of installs where you're working out what to do. But it's reassuring that there's a lot of positiveness in the industry now. A lot of people looking to do the right job, looking at things like flow rates, control strategies, try to do things right, water treatment. It's good. So it's all going the right way, and our industry is starting to re-educate itself.
Yeah. So what is your advice to those people who might want to kind of move into renewables or low carbon systems, but might be a bit reticent because of the everything you just mentioned?
Lean heavily on the manufacturer. They're there. There's lots of stuff out there. MCS have got lots of good stuff out there. You just got to spend time reading it and understanding how they want to design it. They've got calculators. They've got heat loss calculators, stuff like that. You can learn it. It just takes time.
Would you say it's not as daunting as people think as well?
Yeah, I would say that, yeah. We're just following a process now. And every house is just making sure we've got the numbers right in the house, enter the right data, and calculate and design correctly. I think I think a lot of people get put off with MCS because they see it's a lot of paperwork, but it's only a lot to get your head around in the first instance, and then it's the same thing over and over again.
And Gerry, coming back to you, how have you found the heat pump? What did we say? It was like 18 months ago.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, no, it's great. We've been really happy with it. I think the thing we find is that the house keeps throughout the whole house keeps a much more constant temperature, and it's never cold. Whereas before with the oil system, it was always firing up, more when you needed it. And then if it would go off, because you've been on all the time, it would go off and the house would cool down again, it would come on again, and it's, up and down. Whereas I think now with the system, it's just there, and we don't have to do anything. You just, it's set on the thermostat and it just runs itself. So, and the house is never cold and we never run out of hot water. So,
yeah, that's what you want at the end of the day.
Yeah,
it's not a big ask.
Yeah. And would you recommend, so for anyone now who are doing a similar process to you and said, I'm looking at getting a new system installed, would you recommend heat pumps?
Yeah, I would actually, yeah. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's massively cheaper than what we had, especially now the oil prices have come down again, but that wasn't really our motivation for switching. It was more to get away from fossil fuels and kind of future-proof the system as much as anything. So it's not any more expensive, but it's probably not any less expensive. So, but yeah, we would definitely do it again. I've got no regrets about going down that route.
I think Gerry's highlighted the thing with when you switch between oil and a heat pump. A heat pump tends to keeps the run longer and maintain the house temperature better. So the trade-off with the running costs are a more comfortable house, and that a lot of people, when I sell the heat pumps, I actually tell people that you may not get massive savings like against natural gas, for example, but your house will be more comfortable and it'll be more automated.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I think people are becoming more aware as well of how their heating systems operate. We've had boiler plus regulations for a little while now, so a slight improvement on the controls. You've got Nest thermostats. People are a bit more paying a bit more attention to just how their heating systems run. And I think that then helps them to see, well, it's not efficient to have the heating cycling on and off. Can we get the temperatures more consistent through the home? And then when they experience it, they realise it's more comfortable as well. So. But it is like it's a learning process, isn't it? You have to go through it.
Yeah. I mean, the really noticeable thing is the radiators never ever feel hot, but the house is fine. It was a bit suspicious at first, is this actually working? But, because they put your hand on them and they don't, it used to be with the oil system, the radiators would be absolutely boiling when it was on, but you very rarely notice it being on, to be honest.
Yeah, Barry, is that something that your customers say as well? It's not working because the radiators isn't very hot.
Not as often as you used to, but yeah, we're now well versed in telling them stop touching radiators. Start feeling you. Are you warm or cold? That's a question we ask now. Stop touching stuff.
I suppose just the real big thing is the training that we were mentioning before. I think installers that are out there, like I say, Barry's been doing it for 10, 15 years, but in 10 or 15 years, this technology is going to be far more widespread, than it is now. So, put the effort in now, get trained. The market's going to grow and grow and grow for heat pumps, whether it's in new build initially, and then in retrofit. And the schemes are there, So we've got some relatively short-term measures, with the grants available at the moment, that the government are using to sort of plug a gap, as it were. But the RHI, we've still got some time on that, and funding beyond. So I think those incentives with the change in building regs, coming, now's the time really to get on board and get trained. And manufacturers have got courses, in place at the moment. New courses is being developed for the industry, which are going to kind of really refocus on some of the skills that perhaps, as Barry mentioned, have been lost, or maybe just put to the wayside. I'm a firm believer that there's lots of really good heating engineers out there doing really, it's all over, social media, really good installs, you know, on gas boilers, you know, on LPG boilers and on oil boilers. There's no reason they can't make that transition over to heat pumps as well. So, you know, for those guys, I would say get involved now. You know, I mean, we're running virtual training courses at the moment. Those dates are on our website. So if people do want to, you know, at the moment it's tricky, isn't it, to sort of commit a lot of time to training, but, you know, we've adapted, you know, as have others, to providing this content, you know, in that format. So I would say, yeah, now's the time to get involved for the future.
Yeah, the carrot's here just now, but the stick's not far behind. I think we'll all have to do it shortly.